Hello, humans. Welcome to a new episode of Psicoactivo. In today's video, I'm going to cover some of the last 48 hours, which have been pretty crazy. I guess for me, it started on Friday when I interviewed Professor Stephen Brown, and then I already covered to you guys what happened on Sunday when the Big Trouble Show, when the Good Trouble Show's Matt Ford interviewed Dr. Richard O'Connor. And he got a call from Professor Garry Nolan to tell him that he was impressed with some of the data that was presented by O'Connor. And that unleashed a series of events that have taken us to today. Let me take you through it, if that's okay with you. After Sunday, there was a tweet that made waves, man. It was Matt Ford from the Good Trouble Show. I guess he's been looking at more data from the Nazca mummies, which are the Nazca desiccated corpses, really. And he tweeted, "I'd say there is a greater than 90% chance all of us in UFO Twitter will owe Jaime Maussan an apology." Damn. Everybody's covered that. And naturally, just naming Jaime Maussan triggers a lot of people. Naturally. And in some cases, I do not blame them. But I released a statement there because those who don't know, I have a history with Mr. Maussan. He was my first interview on the UFO topic. And I tweeted that I feel grateful to him for what he helped in the little time I have in this space. If it hadn't been for that interview, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now. But that doesn't mean that me feeling grateful, that doesn't mean that I'm blindly going to follow whatever he does and that I'm going to agree with everything he says. And yesterday, my integrity was questioned because of that. Because one of these people that is triggered by Maussan and that is anti-mummies, apparently, yeah, he told me that I had a conflict of interests. I am obviously not going to name the name, to be honest with you, because I don't think that's productive. I think this person means well. He wants to get to the truth, just like everybody else. And he obviously has his doubts about Mr. Maussan. And that's okay. I mean, I have my doubts too. But I will not accept my integrity to be questioned. Because me feeling grateful to Maussan does not mean that I don't want to question other aspects of his career. And right now, I am offering an invitation to Mr. Maussan to go on Psicoactivo and talk about uncomfortable things about his career. Because I think that talking about these uncomfortable things is going to clear up some aspects of his reputation with the people who have been slandering him and doubting him over decades. I know I am a nobody. I've been told this by one of Maussan's people, that I am not on their level. And yes, I'm not. I think that what I'm doing is resonating with people. That's why I think it would be a good idea to interview him on my channel. And also, the first time I interviewed him, I didn't get to ask him the questions that I wanted. I did it through a company called Badaboon, and they controlled many of the questions that I wanted to ask because they are clickbait oriented. So if I get to interview him again, I am going to ask him about these cases that are uncomfortable to him. But I'm going to try to do it from a respectful place. I want him to feel comfortable. I want him to talk about uncomfortable things, but in a comfortable setting. And there's another thing that I want to mention. If he goes into an interview with an American, I've heard Mr. Maussan speak English, and he speaks decent English, but I've seen him get flustered and winded when he's talking, and there's gonna be multiple moments where he gets lost in translation, and he won't be able to communicate what he really wants to say. So if he goes, for example, on Matt Ford's show, and Mr. Matt Ford asks him something that is uncomfortable to him, Mr. Maussan will get winded and he won't be able to communicate what he wants to communicate. And I also want him to know that, yes, I want to ask him uncomfortable questions, but I want to be a place where he can be relaxed, where he can, if he wants to be transparent, which I hope he does, he can answer the questions respectfully and without yelling at anyone. The invitation is set, Mr. Maussan. I know I'm a nobody. I've been told this. My problems with his team have been because I've been disrespected before by someone at his team. And Mr. Maussan knows this. I texted him about this. And that's the reason I have chosen to keep my distance. And to be 100% transparent here, I did approach Mr. Maussan a few months ago to try and get him to expose some of his cases to the American public. But I didn't. I did it not knowing that there was this person within his team who lacks decorum and who is disrespectful to people. This person has cried racism online. He was the reason that Mr. Ross Coulthard eventually backed down momentarily, I think, because I think that he eventually will cover this topic. But he backed down from a News Nation interview. I don't know with who, but he wanted to cover the topic. And he was trying to convince News Nation that it was a topic worth covering. But these accusations of racism and vitriol from this person were the reason that Mr. Coulthard got cold feet eventually. And what I want is, I approached Mr. Maussan to try and maybe be a conduit for him to deliver cases in English to the American public, and even try to clean up his image, try to talk about these difficult topics and clear up all of these debunked or slanderous moments in his career. And honestly, I hope he hears this invitation and takes it. Maybe he won't. Maybe he thinks I'm not big enough. I don't know. I hope not. Honestly, I want to do this because I do believe that he needs to clean up his image. Because even if the Nazca corpses are real, which over the last 2 days, people have come forward to claim that they are from the American side, all of these cases from Maussan's past will be an obstacle still. And I think it's in his best interest to clear that up. So what I propose, and the reason that I think that he will be interested in doing it on my show, is that he does it in Spanish. We talk for as long as he wants. I ask him about these cases. I ask him about the Nazca case, and he can tell me whatever he wants to clear up about these cases in Spanish, so we can feel more comfortable talking, so we don't get lost in translation. And after I publish the interview in Spanish for the Latin American people, I am going to translate it with artificial intelligence for the American people. And I think that's the best way to not get lost in translation. And that's the best way that he can express himself to the full extent of his capabilities. Maybe his people will advise him against this. Maybe he thinks that he doesn't owe anything to anyone. And he's well within his right to say that or think that. But I guarantee you, the vast majority of the American UFO community, and even believers and even experiencers, do feel that these cases are a stain on Jaime Maussan's career and reputation. And if he wants to clear that up, if he wants to clean it, simply proving that the mummies are real or that they're I don't think it's going to be enough. So the invitation is open. Another aspect that started happening from the last weekend is that Dr. Garry Nolan was on the Unidentified Anomalous podcast with Mr. Digby and Mr. Tom. Shout out to them. And he cleared up some things that I want to clear up too. Because the person that questioned my integrity told me that he believes that I am full on 100% convinced that the mummies are real or alien or whatever. I want to make one thing clear, but before that, I want to show you this clip of Dr. Nolan talking about this very thing. Here it is.
What I meant was it was an extremely well done scientific presentation, which was, at least up to the end of the part of where they were talking about Nazca. Discussion afterwards was all speculation, and I really don't have anything to say about that. So what I found compelling was his, let's say, dissection of the images, right, and of the DICOM images, the 3D. And perhaps what I found most interesting was at least his claim that he didn't see how they could have been constructed. Now, obviously, a claim like that needs to be truly verified at the source with the original materials, with a redo. It's not that the people who did it originally did a bad job, not at all. It's just that anything as extraordinary as this needs to be double checked. It doesn't need extraordinary evidence. It just needs evidence. So I just found it got me a little bit more interested again. There was a video about even almost a year or two ago from what I think was an anthropologist who was taking apart some of the X-rays of at least one of the specimens, and which compellingly showed or suggested that this was made of parts. Yes. But it wasn't, and that was a compelling argument. I think what I didn't understand, at least at the time, was that there are multiple specimens. And those multiple specimens are of such variety that to conclude everything from one would be a mistake.
Okay, so, there's evidence that proves that these corpses were not constructed. They're real corpses. They're strange. Yes, the DNA 70% is not recognizable, but that doesn't mean that it comes from another place in the galaxy. It just means that it may be scrambled, that it may be, dirty, but it doesn't mean that it's alien. And also, these claims from Dr. O'Connor and some of the people involved in the case from Latin America, they say that these bodies prove that they're related somehow to the beings that have been abducting people in modern times. That's impossible to prove. I'm going to tell you right now. They are also saying that the UFO phenomenon right now is related to these corpses. That is also not proven yet. It may be proven in the future after a lot of investigation, but it's impossible to make that claim right now. All we can say right now is that the bodies are real. We don't know what they are. It is encouraging that there's people already in the scientific community in both America and the UK and Australia too that are already looking at this. The interview I did with Professor Brown is very compelling for a lot of people, and people are coming around to at least feel curious about this and not dismiss it as a hoax. And that's what's important about this. we cannot jump the gun and say that the mummies are this or the mummies are that. We can just say that the corpses are real corpses. They weren't constructed. We're also not saying that all of them are real corpses. We have to go on a case by case basis, and that's what I wanted to make clear. And another couple of things is that I decided an idea from a fellow researcher, Gonzalo Chavez, who is a champion of the mummies case, and he is convinced that they're from another species, non-human. I still need to be convinced. And in order for me to be convinced or of one thing or the other, I think that these Latin American scientists and researchers and journalists need to have a voice at a platform. And I am offering my platform that is small, I know, but it is making a community, and it is starting to grow to give these people a voice. I speak Spanish. Gonzalo speaks Spanish. The first move that I'm going to do is that I am officially announcing that we're doing a Twitter space on Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific with Dr. Jose de la Cruz Rios. He's one of the biologists from Mexico. He lives in Campeche, who has been investigating these corpses for the longest time. I want to ask him about his research. I want to ask him about the corpses. I want to ask him about DNA. I want to ask him about everything. We did a post where we asked people to ask questions about these cases to Dr. De La Cruz. And we got about 150 questions, man. Thank you to everyone who participated in this. We cannot ask him everything, but we made a promise that we were going to ask all the toughest questions. So the people that are most skeptical about this can clear up everything they want about the case from one of the first-time researchers of these bodies. And make no mistake, there's people that are angry that we're doing this. But I think that people who have been investigating this case in Latin America and Mexico deserve a platform and deserve for their voices to be heard. And that's what we're trying to do. I don't know why this epistemic injustice thing keeps coming up, but you can see in the comments here and on Twitter, people don't want to give credit to these scientists, even though they have been conducting scientific experiments. They have been doing scientific papers, peer-reviewed and everything about these cases. They don't want to give them credit. And this is very real. The epistemic injustice is very real. And I want to help kill this epistemic injustice as much as possible. So we're going to do this. And one final thing that I want to clear up about this questioning my integrity that I had yesterday is that, yes, I do owe Mr. Maussan because he granted me this interview back in October. It was in Spanish. I am grateful to him. I don't think that being grateful to him and questioning him, asking him tough questions or uncomfortable questions, I don't think the two matters should be separated. I think they can be together, no problem. I was taught by my parents to be grateful always, and that's what I'm trying to do. And just to clear one last thing up, Maussan gave me his first interview, but I'm going to play you guys one clip from an article that I wrote for Marca last year. And this article was shown on the Joe Rogan Experience. That headline, that subtitle, that image, I made that. And Rogan talked about this. He posted it on his Instagram page, and he talked about it with Mr. James Fox on one of his podcasts.
The photo that I posted on Instagram of the story of the guy from Space Force.
Yeah.
It says we may be facing threats outside this world?
Yeah,
what the fuck does that mean?
I just don't even want to spend any time.
Space Force boss acknowledges the U.S. will begin facing threats outside of Earth. What the hell are you saying? What are you saying, man? What does that mean?
And when he did that, Mr. James Fox told the people that his DMs were open, and I immediately DM'd him and told him that that article that was shared was mine. He was really gracious about it. He gave me his phone number. We started texting, and we've been texting ever since. Something that you guys should know, the first text I sent him, I got 2 phone calls consecutively from an unknown number that nobody said anything on the other side. They just remained quiet. And on the second call, I was like, I mean you guys no harm. And I hung up. And I didn't think that was a coincidence. I still don't. I think that they obviously have him surveilled. And I got on their radar on that day. Honestly, it happened just like that. Right after I hit send, I got that call from an unknown number. And then I got another one after I hung up. That's weird, right? It's not my imagination. It happened. So yeah, if I owe anything to anyone, it is Mr. James Fox for responding to me so graciously. It is to Joe Rogan for showing that article of mine on his show on the biggest platform in the planet. And I owe a lot of my career in this space that I've done for 6 months to Kristian Harloff, who was also very gracious to respond to my emails. And we've been working together ever since. And to Patrick from Vetted, who has been nothing but nice to me and has been defending me from people who attacked me. I owed those guys a lot most of my career. To Maussan, I owe him to giving me that first push, doing interviews. But most of what I've done, I owe to Kristian and Patrick, and to Joe and to James Fox. So to them, I say thank you too. And to Maussan, I say thank you too. But if I find uncomfortable questions that I feel any of you need to answer, I will ask them. Make no mistake. And please don't ever question my integrity. I don't play that game. I try to be as objective as possible. I am not convinced that these Mummies are from another planet or non-human. That still needs to be proven. We need time. The scientific method is slow. I've told you this before. And we need to take it on a corpse by corpse basis. And yeah, that's the show for today. I want to thank everybody for the nice comments that I've received on Twitter, on Twitter, on YouTube. I want to thank everybody who has supported the channel. I just opened a new Buy Me a Coffee account. I'm going to leave it in the description. There's the PayPal account if you guys want to support the channel. I'm forever grateful for that. You guys can also leave super chats if you want. I'm trying to get to cover this on a full-time basis. Right now, I am covering this with 30% of my time during the day. The other 70% I still do my day job. I really struggle right now because I'm trying to do both things. And I am barely getting to cover everything that I'm doing, but I'm struggling really. So the faster I get to more subscribers, more followers, and the more you guys support me, the faster I'm going to start doing this on a full-time basis. I am going to open a Patreon page, and I'm going to start doing more exclusive stuff as soon as I open the Patreon page for the people that support me there. But for now, I'm going to leave all the links where you can support me via different methods. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification. And without further ado, I'm going to leave you guys until tomorrow. Bye-bye.